All medical interventions are voluntary, right? The Catholic Church never forces people to undergo any medical intervention. Secular bioethics also does not force anyone to undergo any medical interventions, but the Catholic Church also then adds another level and says that even if we're not going to force you to do it, there are certain interventions that are ordinary. They're ordinary treatment. They're basic. They have a high probability of benefit, and they have a low cost, a low burden, either a physical burden, a financial burden, a burden on your family. And for these sorts of interventions, high benefit, low cost, those are ordinary and morally obligatory. I have to voluntarily go do it under my moral obligation, but I'm morally obliged to do it. It's an obligation as a Catholic. Vaccines clearly meet that bar. The COVID vaccines, all of them so far have an efficacy of 80 to 95%, very high effectiveness, very high probability of keeping me out of the hospital, keeping me alive from this highly variable, very dangerous virus. They're free in the United States, right? The physical burden is not high. If I don't have any underlying medical conditions, the physical burden, there's no risk. So they're clearly ordinary treatment. Generally, when we're talking about Catholic medical ethics, we're talking about a decision about an intervention that only affects my life. Am I going to do chemo? Am I going to do artificial nutrition and hydration? And I have to decide whether that sort of cost benefit makes it morally obligatory for me to do as an individual for my well-being. Vaccines add the calculation that I also have to think about the well-being of others. And this is where the messaging from the Pope and the Vatican and most of the US bishops comes in, that it's an act of love.
Le pido a Dios para que cada uno pueda aportar su pequeño grano de arena, su pequeño gesto de amor. Por más pequeño que sea, el amor siempre es grande.
Given that we have a tradition that is rooted in Jesus Christ, one of whose primary missions was healing, right, that is witnessed throughout the Catholic tradition in our commitment to healthcare and caring for the sick and healing the sick. My calculus around vaccination also has to take into account my love and care for the others that I'm protecting, their life and their health. That's an act of charity, right? That's an act of Christ-like, self-emptying love in order to help the flourishing of others. And it's also an act for the common good, right? I mean, not only will my act of vaccination help bring this pandemic to an end, which will be good socially, economically, psychologically for our communities, it also lessens the burden on hospitals and health professionals who have been buried under this thing for 18 months. My refusal to do that, right, increases the burden on them unjustifiably.